Hi, it's Mav. You thought I was going to say something about trigger warnings, didn't you? Well, you'd be wrong. This is just a couple of quick announcements. I wanted to thank all of you for the growth over the past couple of weeks. You guys are insane. So if you like my narration, there are right now 2 gameplays on my channel. There are going to be more coming up, but if you do like my narration, those 2 games are narrative, slightly horror games. Also, if you just want to watch me struggle with save stations, there's that too. So go check those out there on my YouTube channel. Another announcement. I am very excited and very grateful, very happy to announce that I have gotten the permission of several authors to voice over their fanfics. Here's a hint. One of them is 70 chapters and counting. So, if you like bloodying your Marys, I suggest you go hit that subscribe button and that like button and comment down below because I like talking to you guys. And on to the show. Oh, and if you were wondering if there were any trigger warnings, there are none for this chapter. There have been none for the past few chapters. Actually, I just haven't changed the intro. So, here you go. Enjoy. Where Nothing Bleeds by Interstellarisms. Read by Maverick. Chapter 8. Deliberation. Simon seemed to have been taking it well as he could, despite how insane it was. It was the most insane theory that Grace came up with, but it made too much sense to not be true. Evolution was a tricky thing. It's what got him and Rocky nearly killed after they assumed that the Talmiba 82.5 strain would be perfectly safe in their xenonite breeder tanks. He had guided its development and selected generation after generation of Talmiba to develop nitrogen resistance. He himself had messed with evolution to get his desired result, but evolution never has just one goal. It wants to survive, but it also adapts enough that it can escape any other possible threats. Talmiba 82.5 had not become smarter in any conscious sense. It just did what any organism would do, and it simply adapted. It learned chemically and structurally to evade the nitrogen apocalypse within the breeder tanks by embedding itself deeper into the xenonite, exploiting a blind spot in their design. And it had done that, all of that, in a matter of weeks. Weeks. Grace exhaled slowly. If something that simple could deviate that quickly, then extrapolating that curve over centuries could be devastating for every planet out there with an astrophage problem. It evolved enough to do that in only a few weeks, so what more could astrophage, the prey species, do with several hundreds of years? Prey species were not inherently more intelligent than predators. Both evolved strategies like avoidance, pursuit, deception, efficiency. Intelligence, in biological terms, was a response more than it was a hierarchy. But the scale made all the difference. Astrophage was not confined to a single ecosystem. It had already traversed multiple star systems, enduring vacuum, radiation, extreme temperatures, and wildly different energy conditions. Every environment it encountered imposed new pressures. It was like comparing a rabbit to a coyote. Except the rabbit has already been to every possible environment out there and has endured and built endurance to every possible condition. The coyote never left its home, Adrian, and existed to exploit one niche and one niche only, and that was to consume astrophage within the conditions of Adrian. Talmiba never had a reason to evolve until Grace pressured it. Astrophage had been everywhere all at once. It developing intelligence was the least surprising thing about it. When there was enough of it, it developed consciousness. It spread itself, and it reorganized its priorities so it could make the most of its newly developed neural networks. It created those blood moons for its own self-gain. Pleasure, maybe. Or entertainment. Curiosity. Evolution happens for a reason, and logically, there would be no need to develop a consciousness unless it became a necessity. Grace raises his hands and starts tracing shapes in the air, talking in his head. He probably looked insane. It's like, oh, I'm an extremely efficient species already, but to make it even more efficient, I need to become conscious. Why? Because there's too much of me. And if there's too much of me, and those me's want to eat every star, then we will run out of food. I needed to develop a consciousness so that I could put a big chunk of my me's somewhere else, and they can chill out for a bit. That was the turning point that made astrophage realize it needed to be more than just space algae. Maybe it reached a point where simple reactions were no longer enough. It was spread across countless star systems, competing for finite energy and interacting in numbers too vast to remain independent. Given enough time, enough interactions, and enough need to optimize, the system stopped behaving like separate organisms and started behaving like a single, unified one. Like the CPU of a computer, a brain that told all the other things what to do. There were probably trillions upon trillions of astrophage organisms scattered across billions of galaxies, and stars are a finite resource. And just like any rapidly developing species on Earth, if a species engages in overconsumption, it risks extinction. And not only that, it would have to distribute itself efficiently when it grew large enough in population. Like how some dinosaurs started small at first, but eventually evolved to become enormous to suit their own needs. Whether that need was movement or access to food, it evolved. An evolved astrophage, or ephage as Eno grew to call it, he's still bad with names, needed a way to distribute itself across the universe. Maybe that's where the oceans of blood come in. Perhaps when the Hail Mary of Simon's universe failed, ephage found a way to make contact with the dead human beings on board. And because it had never made contact with organic beings before its own environment, it decided to model its own existence after the human make. Hence the blood oceans. When Grace asked Simon to describe the creature, he had mentioned organic material, a fish, eel thing, made of bone and ribcage. He remembered thinking, that's strangely Earth-like anatomy for something that evolved in deep space and should have no frame of reference for human organic matter. But it made sense. If astrophage had encountered human biology, dead or alive, it wouldn't understand it the way humans did. It would not see bones or organs, but it would see the structure of it. Things like load-bearing frameworks or the human body's fluid systems, efficient configurations of matter. The human body is technically a machine with different working parts made to process 1 million different functions. And if it developed the capacity to reorganize matter or energy at scale, then it could replicate those patterns. Like it was a computer, except all its data was spread out like vomit across the universe and needed a way to keep all that vomit inside, but had nothing to copy. Gross. He keeps going back to his main point. The best part about astrophage was how efficient it was at storing energy. Efficiency was the backbone of this entire species. That's why any billionaire on Earth would probably throw away millions of dollars just to have a single gram of the stuff. And if human anatomy was the most efficient structure it had encountered for certain functions, then that was what it would use. A copycat life form. He was never religious himself, but his dad was. He knew all about it. And God made man in his image and likeness. Only this time, humans became the prime inspo for evolved astrophage's new, fancy appearance. Maybe they thought the black cell blob grew outdated. This time, it's more like God saw a man and decided to use their skin and blood as home decor. The blood moons were probably the parts of ephage that needed to be kept in storage. Massive concentrations of ephage that just needed a place to chill out. He pushes himself off his desk and sighs in exhaustion, feeling like his brain had gone on a several-hour-long marathon. There were all a bunch of maybes and probablys, but it's a bit scary how it makes sense. He's been typing all his theories and hypotheses into his computer for hours now, logging them into the Hail Mary system. If Iridian scientists could build him a probe to send back to Earth, then it would be a fun little nugget to send their scientists back home. Like, hey, by the way, the multiverse is real, and if we failed, we would have all been eaten by a giant astrophage space eel. Would that cause more damage than good? Probably. Part of him feels cheeky enough to do it.
Grace! Grace, friend!
Rock, the door's open. You don't have to wait for me to open it every single time. He grunts when he gets up. His back hurts. Sometimes he forgets he grows older a bit faster here because of the gravity. Arthritis would settle in soon. He gets up anyway and goes to open the door. He sees his friend dressed in the celebratory clothing he wore back when they were going to part ways. It instantly brings a smile to his face. What's the special occasion?
It's Celebrate! Adrian and I make decision to have egg.
His eyes nearly bug out of his head as he bends down to meet him at eye level. What? That's incredible, Rocky. Since when?
We make decision yesterday. I carry egg in 5 Iridian days, but tonight we have special celebration, here, in Human Dome.
You're gonna be carrying the egg?
Yes, it's very good. Excite, excite, excite.
I'm proud of you, buddy. But why here, in my dome? Wouldn't it be better to celebrate with the other Iridians outside? Surely they didn't have enough oxygen-resistant suits for that.
No worry, plenty suits. Iridian engineers fast.
Once again, he is proven wrong.
Rocky want Grace be there. Grace friend, but also love.
He feels his eyes gloss over with tears. He sniffles. I love you too, bud. I'd be happy to be there.
Bring friend Simon. He is Grace mate now, yes?
Whoa, what?
Yes. Later, when clock reach here.
He points a claw over to the 5 p.m. hour on the Earth clock.
Do not be late or anchor. Bye!
Bye, buddy. Time to invite Simon to a baby shower.